Sir, I believe we can start. We already have 60 participants.
Right. Thank you, Anne.
Okay, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sanjeev Mehra, Honorary Secretary of the Institute of Marine Engineers Mumbai branch, also the President of Amazing Nautical Association and member of the Institution of the Engineers. So I take this opportunity to compare this program and will request everyone to put their mics on mute, and if they have any queries or questions, they might put them in the Q&A box. If there are any questions related to the presentations, we will take them. We will let the moderator decide and take it as per after the presentation or during the presentation or as the presentation finishes. So we leave it on to the moderator to handle that. So any questions, please put them in the question and answer box. So welcome once more, and the first thing on our agenda is basically we have a message from our host chairman, I Mumbai. Let me share his. So this is the message. I mean, he could not attend physically himself, so he sent us a message. He is the chairman of the Institution of Engineers, uh, Maharashtra State Center. I'll read out the message. So it's a matter of great pleasure that Marine Engineering Division Board, Institution of Engineers India, in collaboration with the Institution of Naval Architecture, Navi Mumbai Local Center, Institution of Marine Engineers India, Amazing Nautical Association, and IEI Maharashtra State Center, Mumbai is holding a marine webinar on the premier subject of shipbuilding and ship repairs, opportunities for Indian industries and manufacturing sectors. Maharashtra State Center is very proud to remain a part of such a prestigious webinar. Hope best of the topics will be covered with enhanced subjects in the webinar for the betterment of the marine industry. The topic of shipbuilding and repairs is a very voluminous and subjective. India has got a vast seashore which provides marine industry with immense opportunities. Our well-trained manpower in the industry is well recognized force in the sector. The marine industry still has got an ample scope of development. The innovative ideas will be well recognized for the development of the nation. The mega event of marine sector being organized will definitely boost and strengthen the marine industry to eventually bring up several opportunities for Indian industries and manufacturing sector. I wish all my engineer friends and other industrial eminent professionals to have this global opportunity to participate and bring success to the webinar. I extend my sincere gratitude and hearty welcome. Engineer Anand Javanjal. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your message. I would like to now welcome Engineer Milind Patil, Honorary Secretary, IEI MSc. He is also the Director, Maharashtra State Finance Corporation, Mumbai, President of the Federation of Shendra DMIC Industries and Agriculture, Chhatrapati Shambhaji Nagar, Aurangabad, to give us the welcome speech. Sir.
Dignitaries on the panel of this webinar, council members of IEI, MEI, ANA, and the participants in this innovative webinar. Good evening. It is great pleasure to welcome you all to this webinar on the most relevant topic of shipbuilding and ship repairs. Opportunities for the Indian industries and manufacturing sector. I am confident that this webinar will be useful to the participants and help them to enhance their knowledge in the maritime sector. The new committee of IEI, Maharashtra State Center, has taken initiative to organize the technical programs under the aegis of MRDB, IEI, and in collaboration with IMEI, INA, and ANA. We have planned many such programs in future also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Milind sir. Next, we will request the chairman of MRDB to give us short introduction, a brief about Mr. Dr. Bhaskar Bhandarkar. He is the chairman, Marine Division, Institution of Engineer, and Vice President, Institute of Marine Engineers, India. Steam and motor first class COS holder, served on board first nuclear submarine of India. He received Prime Minister's trophy for most enterprising unit for 3 consecutive years. He was a commissioning officer in charge of the Kursura Submarine Museum, Vizag, which is a unique engineering marvel. He has taken an active part in IPKF operations in Sri Lanka. He is a board member of APIMS Japan, former National Council Chairman of Indian Institution of Industrial Engineering, former governing member, Engineering Council of India. He has successfully conducted 11 CEO conferences, 17 conventions of engineers. He was associated editor with IGPR, managing editor of IE Journal for 11 years, and presently contributing as area editor for IEMS Journal, published by the Korean Institute of Industrial Engineers. He received many international national awards like the Coal India Productivity Award, Lillian Gilbert Award, Ramaswamy Award. Awards are instituted in his honor for CEO, CMD, and topper students. So can I request Chairman Sir to give us short, to give the welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji, for the introduction. Honorable Engineer Surendra Rai sir, the visionary mariner and former chairman of Institution of Marine Engineers India, who has devoted more than 5 decades of his quality life for the excellence in maritime domain. Respected Engineer Jyotishman Dasgupta, distinguished naval architecture of global repute, quality crusader, and the President of Institution of Naval Architects India, whose sagacity is driving INA and the naval architectures to the greater heights. Engineer Shobhit Kapoor, the Chairman of Technical Committee of Institution of Marine Engineers, a passionate manager of marine operational and marine offshore services. Engineer Sanjeev Mehra, an acclaimed mariner, President of Amazon Nautical Association and Honorary Secretary, Institution of Marine Engineers, Mumbai, a live wire himself and innovative Managing Director of Kenmark Technologies, my friend from Institution of Engineers, Engineer Milind Patil, a dynamic Secretary of Maharashtra State Center and Director of Maharashtra State Financial Corporation, whose quality quest is ushering new dimension in excellence in the Institution of Engineers. Dr. Neeraj Deshmukh, the prolific academician, quality crusader, and the chairman of Navi Mumbai Local Center Institution of Engineers, who is nourishing the dream of world-class engineering education at Hanger Angel Institute of Technology, Mumbai. Respected members of MRDB, Sri Bindu Mohanji, Sri Kannan Saab, our respected engineer VB Singh, distinguished council members of Institution of Engineers, Institution of Marine Engineers, and Institute of Naval Architects, Mr. Sridev Mukherjee, our marine engineer of world-class repute from Singapore, dignitaries from abroad, members of IME, IEI, INA, and ANA, participants, dear students, and our enterprising, hardworking staff, ladies and gentlemen. 90% of global trade is carried out through sea route. There is a tremendous economical potential in the maritime domain. India, due to the special position on global map, its maritime heritage and educated youth population has immense economical growth prospect in blue economy. In the dream of 5 trillion economy, Indian maritime sector has to play enormous and substantive role. In the recently held Global Maritime India Summit at Mumbai, our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji has very clearly highlighted these points. Ships are the backbone of any maritime industry. However, our share in global shipbuilding market is just about 0.4%. There is a tremendous scope. We have to improve Indian shipbuilding and ship repair capabilities, which in turn will boost the manufacturing GDP. Marine Engineering Division Board, Institution of Engineers, along with Institution of Marine Engineers, Institute of Naval Architects, and American Nautical Association, in its effort to promote excellence in maritime domain, has facilitated the availability of distinguished international personalities with huge experience and technical knowledge. These faculties shall share their vision on important opportunities in shipbuilding and ship repairs. I am confident that the participant will be immensely benefited by the deliberations in this webinar. As the domain experts are going to enlighten you all, I shall curtail myself to this brief introduction. I thank you all for giving me opportunity to share my few words with you. Thank you. Shano Varuna. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Bhaskar sir. So we move on to our program, and let me give a brief about a moderator who's well known, wearing lots of hats. But a brief is necessary for people who are from the Institution of Engineers and might not know him, which is very unlikely. So Mr. S.M. Rai is the first graduate engineer from Rajasthan to join the Merchant Navy. He sailed with the Shipping Corporation of India and later was absorbed in the management cadre. During his tenure, he was in charge of new ship acquisition buildings and headed the management and operation department. Post superannuation, he served as director technical at the Indian National Shipowners Association, assisting in planning and projecting Indian maritime policies, acts, and conventions with the government of India. He was the chairman of the Institute of Marine Engineers, Mumbai, and was also the chief editor for the monthly technical journal MER. He is the recipient of several maritime awards, and even today he's serving the maritime industry in various capacities. Mr. Rai has a distinction of being a member of the Indian delegation for years to IMO London, a body of the United Nations, and continues to be a senior member of the core team. Currently, he is actively involved with several national and international maritime committees, journals, and classification societies. So over to you, Rai sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mera. As usual, I mean, you didn't spare me using very big words. Anyway, thank you all. And it's a pleasure to be with the Institute of Engineers in India. as you rightly said, many people do not know that I am a first graduate engineer to have joined merchant shipping, because when I joined way back in the 70s, it was not very easy to join merchant navy, particularly for graduate engineers, because it was basically a domain meant for the student of DMAT and shipyards, etc. Anyway, I had the pleasure of serving the industry, and I'm still very happy. Anyway, to cut that story short, I'm very happy to have two eminent personalities of the maritime industry today as speakers, and it is my pleasure to introduce them. I've been associated with both of them for many, many years, have worked with them, and I am a great admirer of the two big personalities who hold many heads even today. With Mr. Dasgupta, of course, I am with the IMO core committee as well. And Mr. Shobit, I have done lot many vessels as a classification surveyors. So let me first introduce Mr. Shobit Kapoor. Mr. Kapoor, welcome to this our webinar today. He's a ship surveyor, currently Marine Operations Manager for South Asia West Marine, Lloyd's Register of Shipping. Lloyd's is a big classification society at the International Forum. He is having 30 years of distinguished contributions to the maritime activities and has played a distinctive role as a senior marine surveyor, ISM, ISPS auditor, lead auditor, inspector ISO 14001 and 5001 shipboard auditor, and marine consultant. He has conducted training program for reputed ship management companies world over in ballast water management, inventory of hazardous material, and recycling facility inspections. He was also involved in new building and extensive repair and modifications of vessels for Bharti Shipyard. I also have the pleasure of now being working with him as a member of our institute's technical committee and look forward to a lot many webinars and seminars. So Mr. Shobit Kapoor, welcome to give your presentation today. Mr. Kapoor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for kind introduction. I will like to share my slides first. Is my slide right? Is my slide visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can see.
Oh, okay. Let me start. Before we go into the challenges, we need to understand what is driving the demand globally. Starting with the current fleet, age is around 12.5 years. Most of those, one third of those fleets are having age of more than 15 years. Based on past experience, most of the ships get decommissioned by the time they reach age of 25 years, and 90% of the vessel get decommissioned by the time they reach age of 30 years. So obviously there are a lot of new buildings which are going to happen. Also, there's another reason that many ships which were built prior to 2012 were non-eco vessels, which essentially means they will have a big challenge in meeting the requirements of latest legislations which are going to come. Energy mix of the world is changing. By 2040, 17% of the world fleet would be able to manage with alternate fuels. By the same time, 25% of the fleet would be using LNG as a fuel. So in effect, the future is in alternate fuels or in the short to medium term, LNG as a fuel. The current market scenario is some sectors in shipping are doing well and some shipping sectors are facing little rough weather. Starting with the sectors which are doing well are gas carriers, oil tankers, car carriers, and the situation in container market is slowly improving. From the shipbuilding point of view, 11% of the gross tonnage is currently being built in various shipyards across the world, which is not the highest, or I would say it is the very close to the one we had lowest in the decade. Having said that, there is enough cash in the industry and their future orders situation is much better. It is expected that by around 10 years, 1.6 trillion new building investment is going to come in the industry. By 2050, we will get 5 trillion investment, a 5 trillion economy for shipbuilding. Despite the challenges which are being faced by the industry, there are geopolitical situations, interest rates are going up. For last 10 years, investment was also a problem. Despite that, shipping is growing and turning into a green sector. If you want to understand what is the opportunities in shipping industry, we have to understand the energy mix. Most of the alternate fuel currently being used on bigger ships like tankers, gas tankers, container ships, car carriers, passenger ships is LNG as a fuel. That accounts to 6%, which might go. There would be around 896 ships which will be running on LNG soon. There's enough bunkering capabilities for LNG vessels as well. After that, a lot of interest is being shown in methanol as an alternate fuel.
So Shobit, I will just interrupt a minute. You are only on the first slide so far now.
No, is it not moving my slides? I'm really sorry.
I'm also seeing that there's only one slide so far. I thought you are good giving on introduction. There is some comment in the आपके chat box maybe. So I can only see only one slide. Mera, how many slides you see? Mera.
No, I was also under the impression it's not changing. नहीं तो बंद करके वापस करिए सर.
Okay,
And then Shobit, I will request if you can briefly reintroduce other slides which you have asked, because most of us saw only your first slide, introduction slide. No, this is not the, this is your slide number
5.
5. We didn't see your 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's better.
No, this is still slide 1. This is the first slide, I mean introduction. Yeah, now we see number 2. Okay, this also is coming only half. We don't see the other half.
Can you see it now? Instead
No,
of
this is the introduction first slide.
Yeah, can we see the slides now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
now we see the second slide clear, full.
Now is the slides moving?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the confusion. Uh, my first slide dealt with what is future like, aging fleets, what I mentioned about 30 years, many ships are going to be scrapped. My second slide dealt with the market scenario where container ships were uh, having some challenges recently. The energy sector, basically, whether it's an oil tanker, LNG, or even coal as a cargo, is doing well. Uh, I was in this slide, I explained the shipping turning green, and there is a big opportunity in shipping sector. I was at this slide when I was trying to explain energy mix. Is it visible to everyone now? Okay, fair enough. So this slide shows that most of in the short term to middle term, LNG is getting fair amount of popularity as an alternate fuel. For smaller vessels, hydrogen is not getting that much popularity, though there are some engines which are being tested on hydrogen. Battery propulsion and hybrid propulsion is getting a lot of interest for smaller vessels. Many of them are being built in India as well. What are the regulatory drivers? IMO is coming with requirements like EEXI, CII. European Union is coming with requirements like energy trading schemes. So essentially, most of the ship owners have two options. One option being that they scrap their vessels and build new vessels, and other option is go for retrofit, which essentially means make changes in their propulsion system for alternate fuels. So to achieve that, there are various options which are available, but in all options, we need capable to develop capabilities in handling alternate fuels. We require, in fact, we will not just only don't require marine engineers and naval architects, we will require all kinds of engineers, be it mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, a lot of IT will be involved, handling of fuel, chemical engineers. So truly, I would say that this enterprise would be requiring a full family of engineers. Technology readiness is very important for each alternate fuel. We need to develop a methodology to achieve the desired targets. I've taken example of two technologies, ammonia and methanol, which are not very popular. But going forward in 5 or 6 years, probably there will be more interest in these technologies as well. As I said earlier, we will have only two options, either to retrofit the current fleet or build new ships. Indian manufacturing industry as well as shipyards can take this golden opportunity to either take a route of building new vessels with alternate fuels or go for an option for retrofitting current ships with newer engines. Having said that, the first thing probably we will require is increased design capabilities. India has 20 plus design firms who are looking after 40 to 50% of Indian market, which, as explained, is a minuscule compared to world trade. Add to that, most of our design firms are looking after simple designs, and most of the complex designs are left to global players. We have 40 plus marine institutes, including IITs, and around 28 shipyards. I don't see any reason why we cannot develop a shipbuilding design clusters. And as I understand, government has plans to develop such clusters. Government has also got plan to develop Indian shipbuilding common platform for ancillary companies. We need to have an ecosystem where for most of the shipyards or ship repair facilities, even for shipping companies, it's easier to get right kind of equipment. South Korea, China, Japan are having such facilities, such platforms. Even in other industries, our colleagues in other engineering field will know that we have similar platforms in automobile sector, electrical sector, and lighting. I don't see any reason why we cannot have such platforms for shipping industry as well. 7 to 9% of vessels pass 300 nautical mile off coast of India yearly. Around 40 to 50% tankers pass through Indian Ocean. It's an excellent location to be. Despite that, we don't even have a 1% stake in ship repair sector. This sector is going to be $40 billion industry by 2030. Where is the gap? The cost of ship repair in India is 1.4 times than Dubai. And Dubai is definitely not the leader, or UAE is definitely not the leader in ship repair industry. It is China. No other country is even near that. Even if we combine the ship repair capability of all countries, it will be less than China, followed by Turkey. Now, there are a lot of things we can learn how Turkey is managing ship repair facilities. Many of them is being included in documents prepared by Government of India, which is on the right side. There is a need for free trade depots of big area. Let's say government had identified an area of 5 acres, creating jobs with no finance compulsions. At least we need 3 locations for developing such cluster for bigger and medium-sized vessels. Those clusters should have adequate infrastructure, including OEMs, places to have ancillaries, warehouses, even logistical support. Because one of the reasons why there are a lot of delays is because logistically, if a spare is urgently required, it takes ages to reach ship. In addition to that, there are plans to have Center of Excellence for ship repair in 6 locations across India. Focus is in thought leadership, capability building, and ancillary development. Ancillary clusters will be created to attract global and local suppliers. The past ship data needs to be closely monitored. We need to collaborate with shipping companies to know what kind of spares are typically required. In ideal world, we should be using concepts like just in time, but probably at initial stage, it's not possible to achieve this. So we need to have adequate spares, support from customs and faster clearances, and necessary ancillary infrastructure. In the end, everything stops at funding. The rate of interest for Indian shipping industry is many times higher than our competitors or possible competitors like Japan, China, and Korea. Korea and Japan has rate of interest between 0 to 2%. China has around 4 to 5, and India has 11 to 13%. We need to have dedicated funds like KG style funds, which needs to support the growth of Indian maritime industry in general, shipbuilding and ship repair in particular. Last decade has not been very good for at least shipbuilding industry. A lot of shipyards have been closed. I think this is the right time. We need to infuse funds to reactivate some of those shipyards. In the end, I would like to thank Institute of Engineers and Institute of Marine Engineers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak about this subject. And I would like to apologize for confusion in between with the slides. And thank you, Mr. Rai, for pointing that out to me. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah, Mr. Shobit, no apology required, but I must say it was a very comprehensive, a very nice presentation. You covered most of the issues which is affecting the maritime industry. There are some questions which have been raised. I propose that we take questions all after the Mr. Dasgupta finishes his presentation and we combine, and then between you two, you take a call that who will answer that particular questions, because there are very different questions which have a lot of implications, and probably you can take a call. So with that, I still request the audience and participants to keep asking questions. So see, time permitting, how many questions we can take. Otherwise, we'll see what is the best option to satisfy them. Now, may I request our second speaker, again, a very good old colleague and friend of mine, Mr. Jyotisman Das Gupta ji. He is a naval architect and offshore oil and gas professional. He is currently president of Institution of Naval Architect. He is engaged with the Messrs. Arush Gas Technology Services AGTS Ahmedabad as a founder since 2016 and leading a team of engineers in technology development and engineering solutions for LNG terminals and floating LNG and LPG solutions, including FSRUs, LNG carriers, LNG transportation, LNG powered engines, and related technologies. He's an independent director at Tata Group company engaged in shipbuilding. Mr. Dasgupta spent a considerable part of his career with IRS, where he grew up to be a chief surveyor, looking after research and development, and was involved with all functions of the classification society, from rural development to surveys and certification. On behalf of INA, he has been a member of the Indian delegation to IMO MEPC 79 and MEPC 80, and a very active member of our core shadow committee for IMO affairs. And earlier also, if I recall, when he was in IRS, he was representing IRS at IMO. So very vast experience about the new rules, regulation, and technologies, Mr. Dasgupta. So we look forward to your presentation today, which I'm sure would be more diversified and very interesting. So Mr. Dasgupta, please.
Good evening, friends. I thank Mr. Simrai and also the Institution of Engineers for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this topic. Well, to give the initial part, I think I wouldn't need to explain what is shipbuilding and ship repair to the entire audience. So shipbuilding involves building ships of various types and for various purposes, ranging from merchant shipbuilding, merchant ships to naval ships, and for big container ships and tankers to smaller boats and fishing boats for various end customers. The sector falls somewhere in between the product and project manufacturing, depending on the complexity of the ship. And in very specific cases for bigger ships, they are more akin to project manufacturing. So in that sense, my personal opinion, after having worked in offshore and shipbuilding sector and maritime sector, is that shipbuilding projects and offshore EPC projects are extremely similar. And I shall try to include my learnings from both the sectors in this presentation. Allow me to share my screen, sir.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Is the slide moving?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. In this presentation, I shall refrain from discussing the issues which have been plaguing the Indian shipbuilding. There are enough papers, presentations, and discussions on that. I believe that sincere efforts are being undertaken to address the challenges by the government, the public sector and private sector managements, the regulators, and the educators. I sincerely congratulate the Institution of Engineers for specifying this topic. I shall focus on the opportunities ahead and what needs to be done to nurture these opportunities. In terms of context setting, I think the context is really vast, and I shall endeavor to dwell onto the entire aspect. But I'm afraid at the end of my presentation, you may feel that some of the things have not been addressed. So I apologize for that in advance. In terms of the context, the following 4 points are the driving factors for the supply side development. The necessity to align shipbuilding to global and national pursuit for pollution reduction with specific focus on GHG emission from ships. The recent Government of India schemes to support shipbuilding and ship repair. Challenges of integrating shipbuilding and ship repair into national manufacturing sector. And development in technology compelling a paradigm shift in ships and manufacturing process. Opportunities in shipbuildings and ship repairs require, sorry, just a second, sir. Can we minimize this? Okay. Opportunity in shipbuilding and allied sectors, necessary actions to integrate the value chain of entire shipbuilding process, incorporating the ICT tools, that is internet communication technology tools in design engineering, building, commissioning, and operation model, promotion of pollution reduction in shipbuilding and ship repair itself, and differentiated responsibilities among various shipyards and repair facilities. That is the concept of cluster and association development, as pointed out by Mr. Shubhit. Now, I would request that we follow the process of starting with safety moment. I shall share a very short video on safety moment. I hope you will enjoy it or you will appreciate that.
So can you try clicking it once more?
Yeah. Sorry.
It's not running, sir.
Are you able to see?
No, sir, it's not running.
You're not able to see. Sorry about that. Okay, then I suggest that we omit the safety. I will go back to normal slideshow mode. Okay. So essentially, we should start with the safety video, just to ensure that the entire process of the manufacturing process of shipbuilding and ship repair follows the importance of addressing safety of the activity. Now, coming to the next thing, India stands at the confluence of the major global ocean trade routes, as has been pointed out by Mr. Kapoor. India's location comes at the crossings of various global trade routes, especially between Far East and Middle East. Country's own flourishing global trade contributing to its GDP is predominantly through ocean routes, needing active participation of the shipping, shipbuilding, and ship repair sectors. The vast areas of undersea resources are there for India to benefit from, requiring subsea and floating equipment. And the government of India has taken key steps to address the above through the Maritime Vision Document MIV 2030 and now the Maritime Amritkal Vision Document 2047. The value of shipping, despite the issue of the decarbonization, is unlikely to be diminished, because as we know that if shipping dies, one part of the world will starve and the other part of the world will freeze. So as said by Mr. Mitropoulos of IMO, he was a Secretary General. But shipping, as projected by Dr. Martin Stofford, chairman of Clarkson's, he's saying that the shipping is going to be fragmented because of decarbonization and digital capabilities. So, and we shall have also some market barriers which will promote this kind of a situation evolving. So what he is saying is that there are likely to be the transoceanic continental routes which will run on fossil fuel, and the emission will be mitigated by carbon capture, storage, and sequestration. There would be short sea shipping which generates GHG with kind of propulsive power limited by endurance, using the renewable fuel and renewable power plants, renewable energy power plants. And these 5 segments are the Asia Maritime Business Cluster, AMBC, Indian Ocean Cluster, European Maritime Cluster, South Atlantic Cluster, and North American Maritime Cluster. And India will be a vital coordinator in both the AMBC cluster and Indian Ocean Cluster. He recommended development of a smarter maritime sector through advancement in communication digital technologies onshore and on ships. Mr. Shobhit Kapoor has pointed out the renewable energy related fuel or low carbon fuel and the fuel generated and the power plants. But apart from the power plants, also there are possibilities of reducing the GHG emission through shipbuilding process. There are basically 4 segments. One is related to vessel hull design and hull related activities. The second is energy saving devices in the through propulsion assistance and efficiency. Third is the voyage and operational efficiency. And fourth is the wind assistance. The technology readiness level of all the different options which can be foreseen today are there lying between TRL 1 to TRL 9. And some of them, they have been marked here, and some of them have already reached maturity, but some of them still require certain amount of maturity and certain amount of influence on the technology front is required, and investment is also required to ensure that these efforts are also undertaken in the entire process. It is inappropriate not to talk about the defense sector. Indian defense sector, shipbuilding in defense sector is promising, and it is growing at a substantial pace. It is very much in line with almost reaching the same level as the major nations in the world. And there are a large number of ships on order. Now, defense ships manufacturing and the merchant ship manufacturing, which we shall be concentrating more on, are two different ball games. While there are a large number of orders which are in view, this set of orders I have taken from a presentation, a paper by Rear Admiral G.K. Harish, retired, VSM. He was the Director General of Naval Design, in a paper in 2020. And there are a large number of planned projects also. So the major yards and also some of the private sector yards will remain quite full. But at the same time, there has to be certain amount of activity to ensure that the merchant shipbuilding does not suffer. And we see that there is a huge amount of growth which is there in the annual budget by US Navy. Almost annual budget of almost 20 trillion US dollars. And India is hopeful to get a good portion of this budget. There are novel ships, new generation ships on the horizon. These are solar power and electric ferries, wind turbine installation ships, liquid carbon dioxide carrier coming out of the carbon capture, storage and storage and sequestration and utilization, and offshore electricity storage vessels. These are all novel sectors which are coming up, and the ship designs have evolved in these sectors, and they are also the vessels which can be built by us. In fact, for the renewable energy sector, these are the areas which will promote shipbuilding substantially. India has committed to be focused on the blue economy with renewable energy opportunities. The renewable energy sector until 2020 is going to grow, and there are a large number of farm developments and their installations are going to take place. These are fixed wind energy farms, floating wind energy farms, floating wave energy farms, tidal energy farms. These are essentially EPCIC projects and are meant to achieve net zero by 2070. They require substantial upgradation of the offshore oil and gas expertise to new sectors. These are currently not under rigorous government policy and implementation rules, but are going to be will be growing. Indian shipbuilding and offshore sectors are the main stakeholders and beneficiaries for this. Will require trillions of dollars as strategic investments sustained over decades. And these essentially are manufacturing sectors with technology, manpower, finance, and material inputs. Installation vessels for all these are definitely going to be built by shipyards, and these are huge opportunities. As Mr. Kapoor has pointed out, there is a global shipbuilding capacity growth which is taking place. There is an upswing which is happening. And this upswing is there are a large number of vessels being ordered. And these orders are going to be for the next few years, because the ships being built now need to last the transition entirely. So for normal ship life, as we know, is about 20 years or so. So by the time the ships get delivered, and during their operational period, the entire transition of shipping will take place. So there are a large number of ships being ordered. Now, these orders are also being placed at a fairly high new building prices, but there are fewer yards benefiting out of it. mostly out of Far East. LNG carriers have seen the biggest increase. A group of 80 yards with a combined share of global yard capacity of 34 million compensated gross tonnage, that is 63% of the global capacity, are building more than 80% of the vessels on order. Second tier group consisting of about 219 yards with combined capacity of 19.8 million compensated gross tonnage, that is 37% of global capacity, are getting only 14% of the order book. Shipping investors are increasingly concerned about this asset risk and perceived commercial barriers due to non-availability of slots for retail shipping companies. Indian shipping companies are also suffering because of this. And Indian shipping companies, our friends in the shipping sector, they're scouting around to find a slot for new buildings and new engines which are going to be placed. So this is one of the issues which are driving the construction of new building and shipbuilding in India. The government of India has realized this situation and realized the importance of shipping for its own growth of GDP. In view of this, through the Sagarmala project, which have been there for some time, and through Maritime India Vision 2030 and recently released Maritime Amritkal 2047 vision documents, they have addressed the concerns of the four segments: the ports, port developments, shipbuilding and ship repair, waterways, both coastal and inland waterways, and blue economy. And this is going to be one area for which they have initiated a lot of infrastructure development facilities, which we shall discuss now. The direct shipbuilding support status, if we talk about, as we know, as we have been told, it's for only just about 0.4% of global capacity, being less than 1/100th of that of China. The direct and indirect support to shipbuilding have been already institutionalized. That is financial assistance policy on shipbuilding in 2016, grant of infrastructure status to shipbuilding in 2016, promoting procurement of port tugs in 2020, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana in 2020, ship acquisition, financing, and leasing activities by IFSC in Safal in recent times. I think it is issued in 2021 or 2020. And Gujarat State Shipbuilding Policy, one of the most comprehensive state, national or state government policies. And there are indirect initiatives for the manufacturing sector, some of which accrue to shipbuilding. That is Atmanirbhar Bharat policy, Skill India Mission 4.0, New Labor Code. But there are following manufacturing schemes which remain unavailable to maritime industry sector. That is National Investment and Manufacturing Zones, NIMZs, National Single Window Systems, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, which are meted out to the major manufacturing sectors recognized by Government of India and the aviation sector, Udyami Bharat scheme, which have been given to promote entrepreneurship, FAME India schemes 1 and 2 for electric mobility. These are not being made available to the manufacturing sector. There are a lot of electric boats being built in India now. They should get this benefit. The National Industrial Classification recognizes 24 manufacturing activities. And these manufacturing activities generate a GDP of 83.5 billion out of India's total GDP of about 3.4 trillion US dollars. The FDI inflow is mainly to manufacturing, to pharma sector and telecom sectors. Pharma sector getting approximately 58% of the foreign direct investments, And inclusion of maritime industry, including shipbuilding, will greatly improve the manufacturing contribution of GDP. Shipbuilding is a complex engineering process, manufacturing process, whereas an automobile industry, mobile requires 43 hours of production time with man-hours with 3,000 parts, and fighter jets about 60,000 man-hours. Going a harmony of seas, that is a full-fledged cruise vessel, requires about 10 million man-hours with 900,000 parts, and aircraft carrier requires about 11 to 15 million man-hours with 2 million parts. So the complexity of shipbuilding needs to be understood in terms of comparing it with major manufacturing industries. What the automobile industry is to light manufacturing, shipbuilding is to heavy engineering. It has the potential to multiply the employment by 5 to 6 times, and incorporating the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 suppliers, the investment potential can be multiplied by 8 to 9 times. In terms of the entire value chain of the shipbuilding ecosystem, shipbuilding promotion improves the promotion of upstream industries in the manufacturing of steel and other metals, machinery products, and many other non-metallic products. Inputs come from research and development and finance sector. Production factors get augmented by additional labor, capital, use of land, and proper management, both at government level and the industrial level. And in terms of the forward linkage, it brings in capital into the entire ecosystem through the maritime transport sector, offshore oil and gas, and other energy sector, ship recycling sector, fishing, and government defense sector. And ultimate benefits go to the consumers. Within the shipyard complex, the shipbuilding manufacturing mirrors the major industries. It requires steel, water, air, and electricity supplied to it. It involves designers, ancillary industry manufacturers, material manufacturers, and manpower. And it also has internal functions, various functions which go in the delivery of the ship, from steel yards to prefabrication to block assembly to pre-outfitting, erection, launching, wet berth, and trials and commissioning. It has to be supported with marketing, design and development, contract administration, quality assurance, purchase stores, machinery shop, and pipe shops, joiner shops, sheet metal, and these kind of services internally exist within the shipbuilding system. A representative shipyard would typically have a steel stockyard, plate and profile cutting, blasting, forming, and panel line, pre-assembly, hull block blasting and corrosion protection, assembly of prefabricated blocks, and outfitting. And beyond the physical shipyard, the focus are on finance, legal, and technology, upstream linkages I have already talked about, management, labor, and market and global demand. Marketing of Indian shipyards is one of the most important aspects to be pursued in near future, so that we can get a reasonably good pie out of the entire opportunity that is there in front of us. And the opportunity and challenge are on the emission and pollution control. One of the issues which we need to talk about is the availability of material movement facility in the shipyard. Cranes and multi-axle mobile equipment for material transfer is extremely important for shipyards. Most of Indian shipyards have very small cranes. We'll talk about it in a the latest slide. The Cochin shipyard's new dry dock has 600-ton crane, and the Mazagon dock has got a gantry crane of 300 tons, which is much smaller compared to the size of cranes available in the Far East. So I had the opportunity to see some Far East shipyards, And the Yantai shipyard, they have a 3,000 tons crane at the shipyard to carry out the major buildings. And one of the pictures I have also shared about in the title slide about the size of the block that can be lifted, reducing the total amount of manpower required for building ships. The shipbuilding development versus technology is presented in this slide. The shipbuilding has developed over few generations. The major shipbuilding first generation were open inclined multiple building berths with large workforce. Hull with engines are launched, and sometimes without engines are launched and towed to a quayside for outfitting. Distinct outfitting and steel facilities and multiple trades operate together, all as a crowd. They have very low capacity cranes and very little mechanization and manual working with basic equipment. Second generation start having the unit and block building philosophy, building berths reduced to 2 or 3, limited outfitting installed prior to launch, and steel and outfit facilities are although separated with outfitting shops adjacent to the quay. They have the same facilities as level 1 shipyard, but with larger cranes, sometimes a grabbing dock, and a degree of mechanization and good amount of computation being employed. Third generation shipyard, here the blocks are much larger with mechanized processes and construction time is reduced. Number of block building increased and increased pre-outfitting of steel and piping. This actually is quite a tricky issue because unless you have skilled workforce, doing pre-outfitting is very difficult. Even when you have the entire thing designed during the entire engineering process. Level 2 is a single dock or a flat construction area with large cranes, mechanical production, and use of computers. The fourth generation shipyard is an automated assembly of steel, increase in a factory environment. Large blocks with maximum pre-launch outfitting are built. The modularization of outfitting is used in all outfit-intensive areas. Level 4 shipyards are similar to level 3 with a much shorter cycle time, high productivity, together with fully developed CAD, CAM, and operating systems. The latest, that is the 5th generation shipyard, which is there on the horizon now, exploits the premise that a variety of end products can be built from different aggregations of standard interim products. They are generally devoted to a single kind of ships being built. It has a total ship approach and steel and outfit are fully integrated. They have a product-oriented philosophy. So level 5 has this level 4 facilities along with automation and robotics with CAD, CAM, CIM in modular production philosophy. So where do we stand if we compare Indian shipyards with the Far Eastern shipyards? In terms of layout, they are product-oriented, we are process-oriented, variety versus volume, few varieties, large volume in the Southeast Asian shipyards. In the East Asian shipyards, Far East shipyards, we have a high variety but low volume. Production volumes, theirs is large. We have a small production volume. Capacity of facilities, they have the ability to combine many yards together to expand their own function as demanded. And this is insufficient for us to demand. Design and engineering, early start and in-house, whereas we outsource and our detail engineering starts much later. Scheduling and monitoring, we are much behind. Automation level is minimal compared to them. Pre-outfitting is minimal for us, whereas it's almost 80% and above for them. Inventory policy, they can depend on just in time, as Mr. Kapoor pointed out. We have to maintain a large inventory and it's project-based. Vendor integration is low, our skilled workforce is insufficient, and outsource of manufacturing, we cannot outsource complex blocks to outside manufacturers. So all these, in in this situation, let me just say a small personal story. When I started working with Indian Registrar Shipping after leaving Mazagon Docks, I joined Indian Registrar Shipping. So that time, ONGC ordered a number of vessels to India, Singapore, and to Korea. And our seniors and colleagues, they were there. Mr. Thamba, who is one of the very senior naval architects, Mr. Sarandhar, a very senior naval architect, and Mr. Srivastav, Mr. Gautam Dhawan, they were all posted abroad in Singapore and to Korea. And they at that time mentioned continuously that their shipbuilding is just coming up. So in the late 70s and early 80s, their shipbuilding was not very advanced, but they advanced in leaps and bounds. They made the strategic transition, which we have not been able to make. And this strategic transition is necessary. This strategic transition should take place through three options. Number one, value chain consolidation, that is reverse integration of the supply chain, including automation, greening, and local adaptation, building up maritime clusters in the country and in the neighborhood, an essential global supply chain of ancillary services, machinery, equipment, regulatory regimes, all being available to the shipyards. A technology shift is required, affecting future of technology, future of logistics, smart shipyards, and of course, skill development. So there are four-pronged transition strategy. These are all intertwined. One is implementation of ICT, that is the design approach and the building and detailed design and building and business approach. Second is education and training. Third is green shipyard development, because today we are not there in concentrating on green shipyard because our emissions are not that high. But with the passage of time, we have to address that. The global footprint of carbon dioxide is from shipbuilding is about 36 million tons, including the material construction. And this forms a part of our national contribution. The thermal metal cutting and welding, surface treatment and ballasting and grinding, they address this. They emit a lot of emissions, a lot of greenhouse and other gases. So there is a concept of multi-energy shipyard, which needs to be pursued in this on this matter, and which will require a lot of different types of energy being used, renewable energy, storage energy, and also energy from the grids. And number four, collaboration and cluster, benefits from supply chain blending, multiple building sites near shore together, and specialization of ships. This collaboration cluster will make the shipbuilding community assertive through the industry association. Transition in the design sector. We all grew up with the concept of design spiral, which was evolved by Dr. Harvey Evans in 1957 and widely implemented. It has been suitable for the initial stage and also suitable for development and optimized design. But in the commercial environment, we need to transcend to the concurrent engineering, wherein at various stages, the entire product development takes place in the project atmosphere through concurrent engineering. They involve huge amount of database utilization, and this forms a part of the next transition. And this is something which needs to be focused on. This transition is possible today with the availability of database systems, software suites, simulation packages, laser accuracy checks, etc. And it's well implemented in offshore oil and gas and other project-based industries for quite some time. There's a smart shipbuilding implementation project which is coming up, which is being promoted in European Union. This project will also be one of the prime directions in which the shipbuilding will go. Just like automated, automation and autonomous ships, this smart shipbuilding will possibly dictate the capacity and utilization of shipyards in future, reducing the entire process time and removing excesses, which are there are opportunities for improvement. This aims to bridge the digital gap, focusing on integrating the available computational tools, converting into new platforms that enable faster engineering and technical development. And this platform intends to provide product life cycle management, that is PLM, for shipbuilding, integrating existing and proven solutions in CAD, computer-aided design, and computer-aided engineering with new data-driven technologies to handle shipbuilding knowledge more efficiently. But there are pitfalls on this. As we go into smart areas, the total size of data, the database models, they become huge. The data models become huge with the utilization of AI and internet communication technology. Training them even for machine learning involves very high energy consumption, which have adverse potential on environmental impact. So this is one area which needs to be balanced. And balancing this with the manual application is the challenge for the future. It is this method, if implemented, is also susceptible to cybersecurity issues, and that also needs to be implemented. In terms of the total amount of energy use in the shipyard, the oxygen gas usage is about 100 cubic meter per ton of net steel. The carbon dioxide use of direct carbon dioxide use also in case of shipbuilding is about 33 kgs. LPG is used, paint is used, electrodes, all these have environmental footprint, and they need to be addressed. And they all need to be addressed in terms of the total amount of emission control, which has to be minimized in the near future. In case of ship repair, the problem is going to be even more, because it is not going to be easy to carry out ship repair in a kind of a environment which is very planned. So ship repair and ship refits normally use a fairly large amount of LPG or diesel, electricity, and that environmental footprint also needs to be addressed in making the shipyard green.
Mr. Dasgupta, will you please expedite now?
Yeah.
We're running short of time. Yes. Sorry, sorry for interrupting, but yeah.
I understand. So I think this is required to be looked into, the cluster principle. In terms, this has been addressed by Mr. Kapoor, who has talked about the clusters which are existing. It involves the government, R&D and education, finance and industry together, and is normally facilitated by an industry association. For other sectors, CII, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, they have helped developing this. There's a Defense Manufacturers Association, which is called SIDM, which is also there. And there is every possibility that we should form an association of the maritime manufacturing sectors, because with that, a lot of advantages can take place in the maritime industry through coordination, financing, ancillary industry development, performance monitoring, adaptation of technology, and many other things. I am not going to talk much about ship repair opportunities, just that for the challenges, the Vision 2047 has identified many proposals, that is ship cluster proposals at Mumbai, Kochi, and Chennai. But in my opinion, there is a fourth cluster, maritime cluster, which is quite possible around Vizag, Paradip, and Calcutta and Kolkata, with dry dock, wet docks, floating docks, berths, etc. Regulations for setting up a free trade warehouse zone being streamlined for easy access of centralized bonded stores, multi-skill training of workmen proposed under IMU, and additional floating docks being proposed for the clusters. One of the refits which can happen in this maritime industry is CCS, that is the refit option, that is installation of carbon capture facility on board a ship, which captures CO2, liquefies CO2, and then transforms that through different chemical processes using steam and catalyst to gas to liquid, dimethyl ether, liquid methane, and so on and so forth. And they can be used as e-fuel once we use the hydrogen which has been generated through renewable energy. Now, financing this transition, it will be not appropriate for me to omit this. This has been dealt with by the Government of India through National Bank for Infrastructure Development, which is proposed in the vision document. The infrastructure status accorded to shipbuilding opens up financing opportunities through DFI. Sector-focused Maritime Development Fund has also been proposed with credit support for shipbuilding sector. Existing shipbuilding financial assistance policy is likely to be expanded beyond 2026. Financing ecosystems for product development, yard construction, ships are project financed. The private equity, sale and leaseback financing, and EXIM supports. But for quick growths, just like what China and other Far Eastern countries have done, the innovative formulations are required. The Maritime Development Fund, as has been proposed in the Amritkal Vision document, has got 4 components: low cost and long-term finance-based facilities for growth, financing by way of equity, debt, and venture capital to support, provision of long-term credits, which the shipyards of recent past have suffered from, and to reduce the stress of the sector. The fund can take over the vessels in stress, turnaround for loans declared non-performing as banks. Here, just I'll refer to the Korean Exim Bank, KEXIM's financing program. It addresses both the shipbuilders and ship owners' concerns based on the normal milestone payment issues, shipbuilding contracts, steel cutting, keel laying, launching, delivery, and after delivery. Financing support is provided to export-oriented in terms of export-oriented performance guarantee, refund guarantee, contract-related performance guarantee, etc., and export project loans. And to support the ship-owning community, direct loan and financial guarantee and bond guarantees are available to from this KEXIM financing activity. So in concluding remarks, I'm sorry I have not been able to address all the issues. Many things have been left out. What I have tried to give an overview of the opportunities and the challenges in shipbuilding and ship repair sector in India, the need to change the national mindset to bring this sector to the mainstream manufacturing industry. The paradigm shift in technology can be well captured in startups in the maritime sector. There are 1,600 plus maritime startups which are there in the world today, addressing many of the concerns to make the transition. India has one problem. India is a multicultural and multilingual country where there are challenges in integrating human element in different zones. So when we have the workmen from the east, northeast or east area, the workmen must be able to own their activity. And this activity cannot be owned unless they are fully integrated in mind and language. So that is one area which we have to address in future. Like say, they are working in Kerala or Chennai, it is very difficult to train them for that. For this presentation, I'm indebted to INA members and presenters of INA webinars, which are regularly held on our website. I'm very grateful to industry colleagues for the insights and practical guidance. I've used open source meeting documents from IMO MEPC meetings, and other documents which I have referred have been indicated in the slides. I'm extremely thankful to Institution of Engineers, to Institute of Marine Engineers and individuals there, and also to INA for allowing me to make this presentation. And I hope I have managed to deliver what is required for this topic. Thank you so much, sir.
So Dasgupta, thank you so much, and I compliment you for covering the almost all aspects of the maritime industry we are currently facing at various forums and platforms. And I will again say I'm very happy to be associated with you on most of those platforms. I only want the participants to know that in last few years, India has made a very good impact at the IMO, that is Maritime Organization of Global under United Nations. And whatever now we voice is taken very respectfully and seriously by them. So India has made a mark for themselves and we have a bright future. But nonetheless, despite we boast of first a shipyard being made in India in way back, Lothal at Gujarat, I don't know which year exactly, I don't remember. But having started from there, our state in the last almost 75 years of independence has been pathetic. As Mr. Das Gupta and Mr. Shobit Kapoor also said, our shipbuilding is below 1% globally. We are 1/100th of what China is today. And similarly in the ship repairs. I even recall my days when I was shipping corporation, we were making new ships. Those days we had liner vessels, which were not container, had not come up. And most of those ships were being built in HSL Vishakhapatnam, what we have Vishwa series and our state of line series. So we even built tankers in Cochin shipyard. We had passenger ship being built in in Majgaon dock. I remember Harshwadna was one of the very popular passenger ship which was built. But in last few years, as far as shipyard front is concerned, we are very sorry to say that we have not moved further than 7 shipyards which are under government control, and only they are making progress. As a matter of fact, last decade has been very pathetic. We had to shut down some of our very promising shipyards like ABG or Bharti shipyard or even Alcock, though it is under government, but is not making rapid progress. So the situation overall, what I gathered from the presentation made by Mr. Dasgupta and Mr. Kapoor, and what I have gathered over a lot of meetings with the government officials at various platforms, has been pathetic in the last few decades, but future is very bright. As Mr. Dasgupta and Kapoor rightly said, we have Maritime India Vision 2030 and also Vision 2047, which has been revised. I admit what Shobit said. Okay, Maritime India Vision was mostly focusing on the port development. It somehow didn't focus more on the shipyards and repair facilities, which continue to remain rather pathetic. But revised vision of 2040 is very promising. And I'm also happy, as Commander Bhaskar Bhandarkar also mentioned, at Global India Maritime India Summit, which recently had at Bombay, Prime Minister did make an announcement that he hoped by 2047, if not 47, at least by 2050, India hoped to become the 5th shipbuilding industry in the world. So if that we make practical, I will be very happy to see. Today India is unfortunately nowhere near we are comparing to China, Korea, even Singapore, or even Turkey, for example. Similarly, in the ship repair activities, we are very poor. As I said, no shipyard in India or repair facility, despite several of them, as mentioned by both our panelists and speakers, we have several of them in India. But there are some issues which are very pathetic and very sorry, and those all relates to policies like your cost is first and foremost. Indian taxation is another issue. I mean, these issues have been taken with the government official, even with Mr. Sonowal, who is our cover shipping cabinet minister. He has been very, I must say, very considerate to this. He said, we look into this. And we did mention to him that the issues which are burning in the ship repair and ship building activity in India are not only finances, it is all your procedure and custom formalities. It is labor oriented also. We also have those custom clearances, procedures, equipment shortages, lack of training as well. Once upon a time, and I still maintain that our labor is very talented and very competent. We have now recently built our aircraft carrier at Cochin shipyard, and I'm sure Cochin is coming up very well. As Mr. Das Gupta also mentioned, they have built another dry dock now, which is very commendable. As a matter of fact, that was also one of our proposal of the industry that we should do that. Now, as Mr. Kapoor said, our market share of the ship repair activity is less than 1%. And the things which you highlighted were capability gaps, high financial cost, poor technical updates, and poor knowledge, overall shipping and particularly in automation. I still remember that when ships were being repaired in Indian shipyards, for automation, we used to get service engineers from elsewhere. As one of the question answer I wrote, we have vast coastline in India. Still somehow we find our repair activities are hardly progressing at all. So since we're running short of time, I have a lot to add and say, but I will limit myself. Government has come out with some very good policies to encourage shipbuilding, and I'm happy that industry spokesperson with the ministry and even with the Prime Minister have been vocal about this. So financial assistance policy for building 2016, which Mr. Dasgupta also mentioned. We have infrastructure request made to the government. Okay, we should give the facilities with infrastructure gives. Then Atmanirbhar policy. That is one of the very commendable. As a matter of fact, it is not only limited to shipping, but Prime Minister have been saying Atmanirbhar, every forum he goes. So let us hope how we do. I remember for a small wall to get, we had to wait for abroad, and then we go through the same airport clearances, custom clearances, security clearances, getting on. So getting a wall from abroad used to take us 3 to 4 days in shipyard. So all those things have been brought to the notice of the government, and I'm hopeful that coming decade, as Prime Minister and the cabinet has promised, is very bright for the shipping industry. It will come up well. There is a subsidy also given in the last budget. Even Mrs. Our finance minister, she did come out with shipbuilding subsidy that any ship which is built in India will get priority on the cargo, particularly from the public sector. So that's again a welcome sign that some encouragement is given to ship being built in India. We have been talking with classification societies as well. Okay, any ship which is built in India, what concession they can give, but let us see what comes. Fact remains that shipbuilding and ship repair industry is a very complex industry, and a lot many things has to be done. So even I request not only speakers, but the participant and particularly younger generation to take note of this and see what challenges we are looming, Raj. With that, I will conclude that and go to the question answer. If any more would like to add, please go ahead. Thank you. Commander Undarkar, can we take question answers now? Unmute.
Yes, sir. Bryce, sir, I think you can start off with the question and answer, sir. There are a few questions that need to be.
No, I have some very relevant questions, which of course, some of them have been already answered in generic form by Mr. Das Gupta with his MEPC experience and what he has been talking at IMO Indian delegation. Particularly, Mr. Shobit Kapoor, one very important question is, which even have been bugging me as well, is the future of LNG and LPG in India, particularly LNG, because LNG doesn't eliminate our CO2 emission. It does take care of sulfur emission and pollution. But what is the future of LNG? I mean, to me, and even at IMO and MEPC, Mr. Dasgupta would be knowing this, that we are saying that LNG is only a transient fuel. Once we do away with fossil fuel and all that, and new alternative fuels come in, I don't see LNG still being there. So any comment on this, Shobit? You are not audible.
You are
Shobit,
mute.
you are not audible.
Not audible. No. So can we take a question of Dasgupta sir in the meantime?
We'll take the next question then. It is from Mr. R.L. Pai. I think that question was from Mukherjee from Singapore. Future of LNG and LPG. Mr. Pai has also asked a very relevant question, which is, of course, is being dealt with the current our emission and pollution policy. The progress with using ammonia as an alternative fuel. Mr. Dasgupta, you should be answer that.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
production of
ammonia-
ammonia again involves a lot of CO2.
Green ammonia is the target, and blue ammonia, gray ammonia are the processes. So I think ammonia is considered to be one of the major, future fuels. There is one or two issues. There are two issues. Number one is that ammonia has a lot of competition. Industrial use of ammonia is quite large. So the shipping industry and the engine manufacturers will have to really vie for, compete with the other industry sectors to get the green ammonia, which also would like to use green ammonia. And the second is that ammonia has been a toxic material, and even I think around late 70s, ammonia was removed from being a refrigerant. So ammonia has got issues, but even then, ammonia is being used or being put across as one of the very promising fuels because it doesn't have any carbon in the molecule.
Anyway, thank you, Mr. Dasgupta.
Yes,
There's another very interesting question. Mr. Shobit, are you ready with that answer or I should wait? It's still not audible. Still not audible.
Still not audible.
Sir, check again.
Mr. Kapoor, I would recommend that you remove your headphone system and use the computer's mic. Remove the headphone from connection. Maybe it will.
Anyway, my next question, meantime, I will raise the right person would have been Shobit Kapoor to answer that because he dealt ship repair activities in India. But in this connection, Sanjeev, I will call you also. Though I know you have not put it on paper, but you have been troubling the industry a lot in that matter. So I will not spare you as a managing director of the local repair firm. So Mehra, you be ready. The question is actually from Shankar Rao, Regional Manager Sales, Precision Engineering Works from Hyderabad. He has raised a very vital question that he is working in the industry, repair industry, rewinding of transformers and motors, etc., for over 35 years. With now electricity becoming the major power source on ships and as we all know, Cochin shipyard has already delivered electrical power ships. So he is interested to know what is the future for a workshop like his for this electrical rewinding jobs of transformers and electrical motors. So, Mr. Kapoor, if you're ready, can you answer that?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now,
Did you
first,
hear my question? Did you get my question?
yes, I could. But let me start with the first question on LNG. As you rightly said, that LNG is an intermediate fuel, and maximum we can look at short term to medium term. And as the CII requirements will become more stringent, uh, LNG may not be a perfect solution. But the problem is that currently we are still struggling, at least as far as I know, to find the right solution. And then issue is not just about whether technology readiness is there or not. There has been a detailed report produced by Lloyd's Register on various aspects. First is technological readiness. Okay, we can use methanol, but is it the available in right quantity? We have option of biofuel, but is it required in right quantity? We can use ammonia, and probably there are options of green ammonia as well. We can generate hydrogen, and of course, hydrogen itself will be a very challenging fuel, but we can convert it into methanol or ammonia as an alternate fuel. So, unfortunately, from the infrastructure point of view, the best option we have is LNG. There are a lot of, I think, around 200 or 148 and increasing LNG bunker stations. So we have the capability to some extent run on LNG. But next 4 or 5 years, and many vessels, around 165 vessels are on order for methanol. I am hearing in the market that there might be a challenge in getting sufficient quantity of methanol.
True.
So what you are saying is correct. LNG is an intermediate option. And as it was discussed, we have other options like carbon capture. I don't know what is the maturity of those solutions, but next 4 or 5 years would be very critical.
Shobit, I agree with you. The next 5 to 10 years will be very challenging for the uh, maritime industry because we are playing a very important role as far reducing global warming and pollution aspects. Though I again been telling like what we talk that we are building on less than 1% or repairing less than 2% in Indian shipyard. Similarly, though emission by shipping industry is also less than 2% compared to other, and that too also developing countries like us, our is negligible compared to the developed countries who had polluted over the years. So those issues are, of course, at IMO we've been talking are past, but we have to take care of the future generation. So in this, I think we'll have to wait for next 5, 6 years, particularly for any alternative fuel to develop. I can only assure the participants that lately we have been talking with the Indian oil and refineries and industry. They all are doing good research work on trying to get a replacement for fossil fuels. Methanol, as Shobit you rightly said, is already very prominent in this, and so is for small boats, craft, electrical power ones. But let us, as I said, wait and watch for next 5 to 10 years. So my other question to you also, Shobit, is about the local industries. Now, as I mentioned just now, electrical power is one of the main source of propulsion on Indian, particularly small crafts and boats. And Cochin has built quite a few, even for foreign, owners. So, do you think that a workshop like what Mr. Shankar Rao in Telangana is having, who is working in this rewinding or transformers and motors, have any future role to play in the shipping?
So of course, and I think greater role would be in the ship repairs. Obviously, electrical propulsion, batteries or hybrid propulsion is very good options for small vessel. Efficiency is very high. It's around 80%. The biggest challenge with that is that the volume required for batteries is huge. So it's not possible to go beyond a certain size. We are building hybrid propulsion, a series of 12 vessels in Chocolate Shipyard. And obviously, we will be using motors, transformers, converters, but then the kind of, and obviously for smaller
Ajay.
ferries and small vessels, yes, for repair purposes,
There's
an
last
option.
question, nothing more. Mhm.
So yes, there is an option for repair purposes. But for manufacturing a transformer, the standards which class expects, because they have to be type approved. If they want to give it uh, as a component for a new vessel. But once new ferries with electrical propulsion are there, those kind of workshops are essential to support repairs and taking it forward. So more on ship repair side, it will be useful.
Anyway, Shobit, thank you so much. Actually, most of the questions which were put up on the chat box initially we have taken, but now I find many other questions have cropped up. But I would request, because of time constraint, we take them later on, answer them individually on email. So I would request them if they can send their emails so that those answers can be answered by the panelist. That what is there, but will please apologize. I would like to apologize. I tender my apology that we will not be able to take all those questions. And I would request I will like to conclude this panelist part and introduction and summary of this with the only concluding remark that yes, future is bright, though very challenging, and has many things for the younger generation to be ready and be prepared. With that, I will conclude this. And Commander Bhaskar, you can take over.
Mr. Sanju Mehra.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rai, sir. Very interesting webinar, I must say. Interesting topic. And there were a lot of questions, but unfortunately, due to paucity of time, we'll have to do it online by emails. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you, panelists. And we are really running short of time. So, I would request Dr. Dilaj Deshmukh for his word of thanks. A little brief on him. Dr. Nilaj Deshmukh, Chairman of the Institution of Engineers, Navi Mumbai Local Center, Chairman of Council of Vibration Specialists, Mumbai Chapter, BOS member of Mumbai University. He is working in Father C. Roderick's Institute of Technology, Vashi, Navi Mumbai as Dean, Admin and Faculty. He has published more than 50 research papers in reputed journals and conferences. So over to you, Dr. Deshmukh. Before that, I'm an alumni of Father Egnals. So nice to have you giving us a word of thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you for your nice introduction. Good evening to one and all. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on the occasion of IIA Technical Webinar on shipbuilding and ship repairs, opportunities for Indian industries and manufacturing sector, organized by the Institution of Engineers India, Maharashtra State Center, under the aegis of Marine Engineering Division Board in association with the Institution of Engineers Navi Mumbai Local Center, Institute of Marine Engineers India, the Institution of Naval Architecture India, Amazing Nautical Association Mumbai. I would like to thank today's panelist, Engineer Shobit Kapoor, Chairman Tech Committee, IMEI, Marine Operation Manager for South Asia West, Lloyd Registrar, Marine and Offshore Service India LLP, and second panelist, Engineer Jyotisman Dasgupta, President, Institution of Naval Architecture India, INA, former CEO LNT, Waldell Engineer Bangalore. Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs on shipbuilding, ship repair, and challenges related to it. I express my sincere gratitude to moderator of today's webinar, Engineer S.M. Rai, former Chairman IMEI, Mumbai, former General Manager Tech, SCI, former Director Tech, Indian National Ship Owner Association. Thank you, sir, for your valuable guidance during the webinar. I would like to thank Engineer Milind Patil, Honorable Secretary IEI Maharashtra State Center, Director, Maharashtra State Finance Corporation, Mumbai, President, Federation of Senda DMIC Industries and Agriculture, Aurangabad, for his welcome address. I am thankful to Commander Dr. Bhaskar Bhandarkar, Chairman MRDB, IEI, Vice President, Institute of Marine Engineer, India, for taking initiatives for organizing webinar by bringing so many professional bodies and associations on a single platform. Thank you very much, sir. I am thankful to today's webinar comparer, Engineer Sanju Mehra, Honorary Secretary, IMEI, Mumbai Branch, President, Amazon Nutritional Association, for smooth conduction of today's webinar. Thank you all the participants for attending today's webinar and listening patiently. Finally, I thank one and all who directly or indirectly help us to arrange this webinar. Thank you all. Over to you, Mr. Sanju.
Right, sir. So thank you, sir. And with this, we will take permission from Commander Bhaskar Bhandarkar, and if we can close the webinar.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful webinar, and we'll have many such webinars in coming months. In the month of January, we are planning a webinar on supply chain management, where Mr. Sridhar Mukherjee from Singapore. We request Jadgika Makhtar from Hong Kong and a gentleman from engineering head of Sri Lankan Navy. All these people, they are going to participate. We are just finalizing the date. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. You.
So with the permission of the chair, I'll end the webinar.
Yeah, please.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Have a very good day. Good night.